On to the first story of the video, tifu by pretending I was mute at a summer camp for a week. When I was around 7-10 don't remember exactly when this was I attended an SPCA camp for 2 weeks. With a week in between for a break. The SPCA is like the ASPCA, but Canadian, and for those who don't know either acronym it's an animal shelter. Animal Services Society. I hated camp, everything about it. I hated playing outdoors, hated playing games especially Capture the Flag. Hated other kids, heck I still hate kids. Hated camp crafts, and hated camp songs. I loved animals so my mom hoped this would be a place I finally enjoyed. On day 1 we were out into groups of around 15, and were going around in a circle introducing ourselves and talking about our pets. When they got to me I just kinda shook my head, and had to do so a few more times. I really wasn't feeling it. They pushed me a little bit to answer but not much. I soon realized that as long as I kept my mouth shut I didn't have to participate in anything like that. This lasted the entire day, just shaking my head anytime someone talked to me. On day 2 a counselor pulled me aside in the hallway to talk to me. I can't remember everything she said, but it was essentially, "Hey the Honorable, I noticed you being a little quiet. Are you okay? How do you feel?" Coming from a family that didn't dig to find the cause of when I was upset, this confused me and I just stayed silent. She then asked, "Are you shy or can you not talk?" And for whatever reason the moment she said the last line I nodded yes. I could not talk. In hindsight, I really should have just said I was shy, but this led to what I consider to be my only good week at camp. The following days were spent with my participation at almost zero. I stayed with my group but never had to do anything, even physical stuff. They would explain it to me and then I'd just stand there. They'd try to coax me to play, but gave up because I wouldn't use my words. Most of the time I just spent playing in the grass or with whatever animal was available at the time. Bunnies and kitties all day, all for me. A few days and I got bored and frustrated though. There were things I needed and I couldn't ask for them. And wasn't the best writer at the time. How did I handle this? Well, I whispered, of course, further proving I had no idea how muteness worked. There were a boy and a girl I had befriended while I was there because they thought it was cool I was mute, and I ended up telling them I could whisper, but couldn't use my vocal cords. Anyways, the last day rolls around and my heart drops. Every day before this when my mom came to pick me up she would wait in the car, but today she came inside to greet me. I was sweating. I tried to get her out of there as fast as I could but I wasn't fast enough. A counselor caught her attention and came up. "Hey, we saw Nota Barrett Salmon Bear is signed up for another week. We were all just wondering why you didn't tell us he was mute." I can't tell you the face my mom made because I was busy avoiding eye contact. The resulting conversation between them is forgotten. But boy, I received a scolding when we got back into the car. In hindsight, I'm just glad no one attending the camp knew sign language and tried to talk to me. TLDR, I pretended I was mute to get out of all camp activities when in reality I just hated camp. Everyone felt bad for me and I breezed through. But then on the last day, they caught me and my mom on the way out and asked when she never told them I was mute. Yeah lol. And to the second story, tifu by not realizing the cute gym employee thinks I'm a trans woman. Where to start? Ever since the COVID lockdown happened I have been letting my hair grow out. At first, it was because all the barbershops were closed, but then even after I got my hands on a hair clipper it became more amusing to see how far I could take this. COVID had put a stop to my dating life, so I wasn't trying to clean up for anyone. So after a year of letting my hair grow out it is now shoulder length. Another side effect of COVID is my weight. I used to go to the gym regularly, but stopped once the gyms were closed due to COVID. I have never been the type to run on the streets, so my weight gained the COVID 25 akin to the proverbial freshman 15. I have a pretty skinny frame to begin with, so what that means is that all the fat went to my stomach and my now man boobs. There is just one last piece of information before I can start. I am the type of Asian that has trouble growing facial hair. So now we can begin. As most of you know, we are reaching the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of COVID. Most states are relaxing their lockdown restrictions, and my gym finally reopened last week. Eager to get back into shape, I went on the first day of the reopening. I do my thing on the machines and maybe pushed myself a little too hard, or perhaps I am just that out of shape because I was a complete mess by the end of my workout. I make my way toward the men's room, but this cute gym employee, who was sanitizing the water fountain in between the men's and women's room, intercepted me. She said you can use that one, pointing to the women's room, and in my exhausted and muscle already starting to ache state, I only thought perhaps there was something wrong with the men's room and that they closed it off. So I go into the women's room. It was empty because the gym just reopened and I take care of business. When I come out, she said, "I think what you're doing is brave," and I for some reason thought she meant going to the gym again and said thanks. It wasn't until I got to my car that the light bulb in my head finally turned on. She must think I'm a trans woman. The long hair, man boobs, and no facial hair. Now it wouldn't be so bad if that was the only interaction I have with her, but the next day she came over as I was running on the treadmill to introduce herself. And because I have been going to the gym almost every day since I'm serious about getting back into shape, she and I have developed a sort of friendship. Just today she asked how long I have been transitioning, and I said since COVID. I don't know how long I can keep this up. This is the cheapest gym in my area, so I don't want to switch. TLDR, gained long hair and moobs during COVID. The gym finally reopened and a cute employee thinks I'm a trans woman. Now on to the third story. TIFU by committing stolen valor, getting second-degree full body burns, and making my clothes forever smell like marshmallow vodka. I recently got a sunburn which made me think of a particularly painful fuck-up from my stupid army days. Let me elaborate on the setting before getting into how dumb I actually am. This is a long story, so I hope you find my stupidity entertaining. It's San Antonio, Texas, 2012. I am a newly enlisted 18-year-old who spent my whole youth being a goody two-shoes. The second I signed my enlistment papers, I apparently decided that I was far enough away from home to live life to the fullest and push the boundaries. Just insert whatever shitty Instagram motivational quote. And that's what I used to justify attempting to get alcohol poisoning. It's hot as hell, we are being pushed at training 12+ hours a day. And I had just earned the right to wear my civvies on the weekend and get a free 8 hours to myself. So being a woman who has been stuck in the same nasty uniform for the last 5 months, I was thrilled to wear real clothes and explore the base that had thus far been off limits to us. Myself and 3 other female soldiers I had befriended decided to get our hair done. Side note, the hairdresser told me that wearing my hair in a bun for the last 5 months was damaging it. And could I please ask my sergeant if I could wear a different hairstyle so that I could maintain healthy hair? Lol, okay lady, I will be sure to ask. Anyway, there we are, sitting in the BX hair salon, and a bunch of Air Force gals walks in. We start chatting, and they told us that they had just gotten back from the base pool. Our devious little eyes lit up. We had heard rumors about this pool, but us Army folks were absolutely not under any circumstances allowed to utilize it. Something about too many Army guys getting drunk and forgetting how to swim. The lifeguards on duty had banned any more Army personnel because they were sick of having to jump into the pool to save a drunk teenager from drowning in the shallow end. I guess they call us grunts for a reason. So we are talking about how glorious it would be to use the pool because it's July in San Antonio, and it's regularly over 105 degrees. These absolute airmen saints hatch a plan. They give us their PT uniforms and tell us to sneak in. If anyone asks, we are Air Force cadets and are completely entitled to use the pool and totally won't drown. Giggling at the genius of this plan, we hightail it back to the barracks, grab our swimsuits and change into our stolen valor uniforms in the BX bathroom while one of the girls went and bought copious amounts of alcohol. Being the complete trash bag of a human that I am and also having little to no experience in high school with alcohol, I googled what beginners should drink. Marshmallow vodka was requested, and we filled our field canteens to the top. Here's where it starts to get into fuck-up territory. We sneak into the pool totally casual, and not looking over our shoulders and giggling the entire time. And it is amazing. The pool is nice and cool, we got to see shirtless men for the first time in months. The marshmallow vodka is being inconspicuously drunk sort of. And we are casually greeting each other loudly as airmen, while doing drunken salutes. At some point halfway through my canteen, I realized that drinking 32 of straight vodka is, in fact, not a possible feat for a skinny 18-year-old woman. I pass out in the sun, belly full of marshmallow, and heart full of rebellion. I grew up 50 miles from the Canadian border, and let me tell you that my pale princess skin has never felt the intensity of the Texas sun before that day. Hell, I didn't even put on sunscreen growing up because it's just not that intense. As I was shaken awake by my battle buddy so that we could make it back to our end-of-day formation, I realized my horrible mistake. From my feet all the way up to my forehead, I was covered in blistered second-degree sunburns. Like a scene from The Notebook, I raised my dying hand up to my friend and told her that I wasn't going to make it. She better join me on this pool chair, because there was no way I would ever be able to move again. Call a med-evac, I was done. My hilarious friend proceeded to slap me on the belly, and told me to snap out of it, only for both of us to be horrified as blister juice splattered across us from the force of her ill-fated slap. The shock that I was activity leaking all over this blessed forbidden pool motivated me to gingerly get up and hobble my way back to the barracks. I wish, dear reader, that this was the end of my fuck-up, and that I recovered and vowed to always wear sunscreen and never drink at pools again. But no, it was just the beginning of the pus-filled pain. The next morning, a glorious Monday of field training in the San Antonio heat, was excruciating. My stomach was covered in blisters that kept breaking open. The thing about military rucksacks is that they are pulled tight around your abdomen and shoulders, creating an even weight-bearing load that felt like the devil himself was piggybacking. Every movement caused more pain, but who was I to ask to go to sick call? I should have never been wearing clothes revealing enough to get a second-degree stomach burn. Bikinis were not on the approved civilian clothing list, because we weren't allowed to go to the pool. The sweat from the heat stung my raw and burned skin. Soldiers around me are reaching for their canteens and pouring water over their heads, trying to get some relief from the sun blaring down on us. I grab my canteen and follow suit, only to be hit with the nauseating smell of motherfucking marshmallows. The faint noise of a stifled scream escaped my throat as the electrifying sting from the vodka I had just poured all over my body seeped into my wounds. A smart person would have made sure that their secret alcohol canteen was not the same canteen they brought to the field. I was not that person. It may have been the heat, or perhaps it was the unrelenting humidity mixed with my own personal pus juices. Maybe even God himself decided to punish me for it the weekend pool trip. But my uniform, rucksack, and canteen smelled of marshmallow vodka for the rest of my service. I scrubbed, I screamed, I sanitized, and even bought some pyramid scheme essential oil bullshit to try to remove the stench. Y'all, I was desperate. If you had told me to sacrifice a small animal, I probably would have. This deed earned me the nickname Marshmallow for the rest of training, and I somehow convinced my sergeants that a cheap bottle of perfume had broken in my bag. And that's why I smelled like the floors of a sorority house all the time, okay? Who am I kidding? That probably did not convince them at all, but they gave me the grace that a teenager new to the army probably gets every once in a while. I drink tequila now. TLDR, airmen gods graced me with a uniform. I got second-degree sunburns and spewed pus over a perfectly good pool chair, and poured marshmallow vodka over my face. And on to the last story for the day. TIFU taking my kids to see Inside Out right after getting separated from our marriage. This happened last Thursday on the first week I had my kids after getting forcefully separated from my wife. In the span of 2 weeks, I slept in hotels, friends' campers, signed a new lease on life in a house, purchased a bunch of divorced guy furniture from Craigslist, went to court to stand trial and negotiate a settlement, barely interacted with the outside world, and never really contemplated the entire sudden fiasco entirely. I was just trying to create a new home the state would deem worthy of my seeing my kids. Last Sunday the 28th was the first time I got to see them for a week at the new house since the breakup. It was rough, brutal, and confusing for everybody involved for the first few days. But we found a rhythm by Wednesday. That day, I received an email from a local venue about restarting showing movies in their outdoor seating area during the day since the weather had improved considerably. Just enter your name and those attending with you, and win a chance for 6 tickets and a table to watch the movie in mid-afternoon. Being the newly single dad, I wanted everything, and signed up, and we won. Not knowing that everyone who signed up actually won because they needed to generate business since no one had been to the venue since fall. The contest was a ploy that worked wonderfully to draw folks out. Spoiler for the plot of Inside Out: I'd never heard of Inside Out before because we normally don't attend movies, but watch some Netflix. We show up right as the movie is beginning, order a pizza and wait and watch. Nothing fancy, then I realize it's a movie about emotions that occur after a huge tumultuous breakup in a girl's life when she moves from the Midwest to California. Long story short, they comb through the child's entire psyche, reaching all the way back to her childhood. Core memories with her parents, joy, sadness, anger, etc. Tears are streaming down my face as the buzzer lets me know the pizza is ready. I walk over, grab it, and head back. We are silently munching through our pizza when the forgotten memory rocket ride scene takes place. In it, the emotion, joy, and Bing Bong, the childhood imaginary elephant friend of the protagonist, are trying to escape a pit of forgotten memories. They are riding an imaginary wagon that is powered by rocket rainbows fueled by singing. With both of them, it's too heavy to make it up a cliff and out to save the main character. Bing Bong decides at the last minute to eject himself from the wagon to make it lighter and sacrifice himself so his friend, the main girl, can find happiness again. I couldn't hold back any longer and straight up wailed and cried so loud other socially distanced tables were looking over and holding their kids close to them. I tried to stop, but 15 years of marriage, to kids, soccer games, schools, vacations, deaths in the families, secret handshakes, whispers, brownies, Sunday drives, and beach trips overwhelmed me, and everything flooded out at once. It was terribly embarrassing for me and my kids. I couldn't hide it or stop it no matter how hard I tried. Just then the wind picked up and blew the pizza box, plates, napkins, water bottles, and coloring books off the table and strewn them across the venue in broad daylight. The movie is blaring, I'm bawling, my children are confused and crying, and everyone is frantically trying to help me pick up my life. Luckily, my son, in the middle of the entire fiasco, walks over to a nearby table, stoops down and picks one of our pieces of pizzas off the pavement and removes some trash from it before taking a bite, then turns around looking at me and yells, "Dad, pick me up one of those waters off the ground. Will you?" It was the comic relief every table needed, and everyone broke into laughter. We slumped over to our table and finished the movie holding each other and rocking back and forth. We had not addressed the situation fully at that point, but the ride home was insightful and we talked a great deal. I still have a lot of work to do in relationship repair, but we are headed in the right direction. TLDR, recently separated, brought kids to see Inside Out. Broke down in front of everyone processing the recent events of my life. Edit, thank you all for outright recognition of my situation through posts, messages, awards, and generally reading it. What you all have shared has inspired me to keep going, and in some perverse way belong to a great family toiling away every day in hidden pain that I am now in tune with. I've always kept everything at a distance, possibly to avoid this pain, and perhaps that is what I contributed to the dissolution of my marriage among other behaviors, and not getting help sooner. I have done good things. I have helped people before on r/depression who have reached out and made community contributions around town. I just needed to be seen and heard today. Their mother is great, she is going to be fine, and I am going to continually support everything they do because I'll be right here about a mile from their house they could walk over if they wanted to. You can believe this. I can assure you this is real and it happened. I'm real and nothing is fabricated. Yes, I contributed to the breakup, but that's not what this is about. I made sure to rent a house in the same town, near their school, in order to maintain presence in their lives and minimize the turbulence. I cooked all our favorite meals the first week to make it seem like it was the same, and slept on the floor with them the entire week since I took the week off from work. It's just a post about crying uncontrollably in public unexpectedly. That's it. Just like my life blowing up before my eyes. I never expected this to either. I am grateful for all of you reaching out, even those banging me for posting and asking for sympathy points. I know I can do this because so many of you said it could work, and that you also suffered far worse, are deep in it right now, and shared incredible stories about making connections with your parents because of it. I am grateful, really. Today is my actual birthday in real life, and I've been sitting here reading posts and dying all over again. I'm lonely, but not alone. Thank you all. I will pay all of your gratitude forward. I am truly sorry for misspelling Inside Out in the title. I fixed it here, but everything seems hypervigilant right now. That's it for the story. Thanks for watching.